want to take this time also to appreciate our leader, Apostle Kambule, together with the rest of the forum, for this honor and a privilege afforded me to have been invited to be part of this great gathering. It's very humbling, really. It's humbling to minister to fellow senior pastors. It's really touching and humbling to see senior pastors, anointed and graced men and women of God, humbling themselves to come and listen to another pastor, particularly on Saturday when we should be preparing ourselves for tomorrow. So I really appreciate all of you, and thanks for this opportunity. My assignment on this one, this one will not be a preaching, neither will it be a teaching, but we are just going to talk about matters that have to do with the pastor and his wife teamwork. I'm going to, as I was preparing, I looked at over 3 decades of ministry experience, and I'm still learning. Personal experience, counseling, ministering to others. I have learned a lot, and I'm still learning. So I have entitled my short discussion with you, I've entitled it, You, Your Wife, and the Congregation. You, your wife, and the congregation. In other words, you here is the senior pastor, your wife, and the congregation. Let's look at this triangle. How you and your wife relate within the setup and the context of the congregation. I'm not looking at home. I'm looking at your relationship as it pertains to you and your wife or your husband, and as it also pertains to the congregation. A lot is expected from pastors' wives, but there is no school to train them. There's no school to train people how to be, a pastor's wife. And so there are so many expectations placed on them, some of which are unrealistic, and they find it difficult to cope in our churches, and sometimes they feel unprotected by their husbands who are pastoring. I know there is another aspect where the set man or the senior pastor is the wife. We'll look at that at the end, but allow me to start with the senior pastor as being the husband, and looking at the husband. The wife has a 5-fold ministry calling or not. I'm not going to get into that. So I'm talking, look, you, your wife, and the congregation. Now, many pastors' wives had to learn through trial and error. So there is a need to have a school that will train and equip them for this great task, because pastors' wives are very, very important. Many pastors' wives even make mistakes in an attempt to assert their authority and gain recognition in the local church where they are serving with their husbands. This ought not to be so. It is the duty of the senior pastor, the husband, to recognize and create a platform of ministry for the wife. So I think I'm going to start with speaking to us as pastors. I like the attention. I mean, yes, we are learning. And may I say, as a disclaimer, that as we talk, I don't want to appear as someone who has mastered it. I'm also learning. I'm growing in what I'm going to share. So it should not be seen as someone who is an expert, because I'm far from that. I'm also learning. So I just want to take time and give some tips to the pastor. I want to talk to the pastor now as it relates to you and your wife in the church and the ministry. You and your wife. Now I want to first of all talk to the pastor, and then I will talk to the pastor's wife. Number one, your wife is called to be your helpmeet. We all know Genesis 2 verse 18. God made that, that declaration. It is not good for a man to be alone. I will create him a helper who is comparable to him. So your wife is called to be your helpmeet, whether from the church setup or not church setup. Your wife is called to be alongside you as a man. And let us also be aware, Mama Oguti, the wife, the woman is created for the man. I will make you a helper comparable to him. Now, that doesn't mean that the woman is inferior. I just wanted us to note that. So your wife is called to be your helpmeet. And therefore, as a set man, as a pastor, whether you are an apostle, a bishop, an archbishop, regardless of your designation, give her the rightful place next to you in your congregation. It's important. You know, you visit other congregations, some congregations, you can hardly tell who the pastor's wife is. And sometimes you may think the worship leader is the pastor's wife, because the pastor's wife is not visible. The pastor's wife is not given her rightful place. By rightful place, I'm not talking about a position, but I'm talking about an environment where she is recognized, where she is affirmed, where she is acknowledged, where she is respected. So that's the first thing. Give her the rightful place next to you in the congregation, not apart, next to you, in proximity. Now, I'm not just talking physically, but I'm talking, remember, she's your helpmeet. Now, she has to be next to you in the sense that, remember, your greatest support system in that church is your wife. Your first, you see, church members can leave you. They will come, they will go, they will make promises, they will break your heart, they will go, but that woman will be alongside you. And remember, she believed in you before you started. She believed in you before you preached the first sermon. She has been there before everybody else came. So don't get carried away with the numbers that are there, and then you push your wife aside. So that's number one. Number two, your wife, I'm talking to the senior pastor now. Your wife is not called into the fivefold ministry because you as a husband is called. Don't assume that your wife is called to the fivefold ministry just because you are called to the fivefold ministry. Now, definitely your wife is called. All of us are called. But she may be called into other ministries outside of the fivefold ministry. Sometimes we try to imitate the American system. Because a person is an apostle, then the wife is the prophetess. Because, the man is a pastor, then the wife is a pastor. It's okay if she also has a fivefold ministry calling as a pastor, but she should not become a pastor because she's married to you. It's important. Your wife is not called into the fivefold ministry because you as a husband is called. So, as a set man, don't force a fivefold ministry calling on your wife. You see, this is the American model. We look at Kenneth Copeland and Gloria Copeland, and they are a wonderful team. And we want to emulate that. They're a wonderful team because both of them are called into the fivefold ministry. And both are teachers. And the fruit is there as the evidence of their calling. So they are not trying to put it together. It's there. Now, if it's like that, it's fine. But don't try to create a particular model of ministry by giving your wife an office of function for which she is not called. Don't force a fivefold ministry calling on your wife. Number 3. So in other words, never give your wife a ministry God has not ordained for her.